pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Just a reminder, if you please silence your phones or any electronic devices you may have. Obviously, the purpose of tonight's meeting is to discuss proposed ordinance 2019-01, ordinance modifying local income tax rates. Be it ordained by the County Council of Fayette County that a need now exists to modify the local income tax rates imposed in the following way. Certified shares, 1%. That's what's current. Property tax relief rate of 1.12%. Special purpose rate, 0.25%. Correctional and rehabilitation facilities, commonly known as a jail tax, currently 0, proposed 0.20%. Be it further ordained that a public hearing was held on a proposed local income tax rate modification June 27th. Proper notice of the public hearing was provided pursuant. So, the reasons for the discussion on this proposed ordinance is not to build a new jail. It's not what this is about. This is funds that could be used for that, or the maintaining of existing facilities, or personnel that maintain or help operate those facilities, which would be the sheriff's department and the jail staff. Am I missing anything in that?
I'm sorry, I'm typing and I'm not listening.
Okay. Am I missing anything on that?
I mean, it could be jail, sheriff, community corrections.
Community corrections?
Yeah, the correctional and rehabilitation.
And obviously, our jail staff are significantly underpaid in comparison to surrounding counties. And our road deputies are also significantly underpaid. And I've approached the city on numerous occasions. We have approached the city on numerous occasions. We've had meetings, special meetings, joint meetings with the city council, board of works, the mayor, to discuss ways we could remedy the situation. Our 911 is on life support right now, to say the least, as far as financial funding goes. It's a serious problem we have to deal with. To me, I take very seriously any discussion of raising taxes, because it's not something that I enjoy. I do our taxes at home, and for entertainment purposes, I take my wife and go through it and shift the counties around. If we live in Fayette County, if we live in any of the other counties, surrounding counties, what happens to our taxes? Do they go up? Do they go out of refund? And obviously, when we hit Fayette County, we get dinged pretty good. So it's not something that any of us are excited about, but we realize that there is a serious problem with our current situation, as far as not only pay for our jail staff and our road deputies, but the entire county government, period. Everybody that works in every office is substantially underpaid in comparison to everybody in all the surrounding counties. Our counties are equal size. We're not even close. It's been, we'll use the term, the can's been kicked down the road for many years and ignored, and we've tried to address it since I've been on council, and I think since Commissioner Strong, when he was on council, Councilman Brockman, when they tried to address it, back then, and tried to do the best they could. But currently there's, I believe, 3 openings within the jail, that they're only getting 1 to 2 applications a week, if that aren't very, they're not really quality applications, I guess you could so speak. You just can't put anybody in those jobs. It takes a special person to work in those positions, and a special mindset to work in those positions, and you just can't put anybody in it because now you're impacting the safety of not only the deputies, but the other jail officers and the community by having the wrong person in there, because we can't keep them. Starting pay for a jailer is around $25,000. Starting pay at Reed for security is $40,000. What would you do if you've got kids to feed? It's kind of a no-brainer where you'd be working. So how do you compete with that? How do you compete with surrounding counties that can pay so much more than what we can even begin to offer here? I'm trying to get to an email here that I could do some comparisons. Or how do you keep road deputies employed here after we send them through the academy, pay for that training, and they go to the city, or they go to a surrounding county because they can get paid more? We have to do something to try and compete with that, and to try to keep people here. So this is one thing that we can look at and discuss. Too many emails. So road deputies starting pay for Rush County, $43,290. Franklin County, $46,814. Henry County, $46,303. Union County, $32,000. We're at 30. Okay. The jail officers, Rush County, $34,000. Franklin County, $35,000, or almost $36,000. Henry County, $33,000. Union County, $30,000. Us, $25,000. All the counties I mentioned, Rush, Franklin, Henry, and Union that surround us, they still don't even deal with the amount of inmates that we deal with. We far exceed them with the amount of inmates that we deal with. It's to a point where it is a safety issue with them, that we have to have qualified people to fill these positions. We have to have qualified people to put on the road. And we can't do it with what we're offering. I mean, we're $5,000 less than Union County. I mean, you can't compete. And yes, there's only so many security positions at Reed Hospital to fill, but still, if they become available, I've got a family and kids to take care of. I know what I have to do. And I've talked to some of the jail officers that are contemplating leaving if something opens up for them, that have left. I've talked to some of the city police officers that have been former sheriff's deputies here that have left, and they didn't want to leave. They enjoyed their work environment. They wanted to stay here. And probably if you took a poll of a lot of them that have left, they would come back to work for the sheriff if they could. If it was if everything was equal, they would come back because they enjoy working. Not that there's anything against the city police. That's not what I'm saying. They just liked their environment. They didn't want to leave. You know, the sheriff has had people that have left their jail positions that have had tears in their eyes. They didn't want to leave because they love the guys they work with. There's a camaraderie there. But again, they have to do what they have to do to take care of their families. And potentially, if this was adopted, it might be something that we can shift funds around from the sheriff's department was covering, would be under our general fund, that we could free up to help some of our county employees, that we could help alleviate the problem in 911. 911 is a problem that's facing is looking at a square in the face right now. That has to be addressed. We have to address it. We have to find a fix for it. Or we have to look at outsourcing our 911. And me being a first responder, and John being a first responder, I don't think neither one of us want that to happen. We like our local people that understand our local situations. They can tell you go down to the Smith farm and hang a right, and there you are, because they know the county. They know who lives where. Sometimes the addresses aren't real clear. And sometimes we do better with, I mean, I was explaining to my son the other night, the fire department did a ATV ride, poker run, Or we're driving down the roads and I'm telling them, I said, now this road on a Google map says this, but around here we know it as this. And when you get dispatched as what it's known as, not what's listed on Google Map. You get something from Wayne County that's doing dispatching, they don't know that stuff. So, Jane, did you want to comment at all on the disparity between county offices, or did you?
No, but I had this if you wanted to compare the fact book.
Okay.
So,
Jane doesn't like to talk on camera.
I don't like being on camera now.
Camera's looking at you right now, though.
It's okay.
Still looking at you.
Hush. Don't make me nervous.
Mike, did you want to say something about what the state had said about their?
Thank you. Well, she's looking that up. The other thing is we're kind of being backed into the corner on this ordinance where we could maybe have, I don't know when it was announced, this was going to be changed, but as of the 30th, it changes how we can use this. And the state's dictated enough to us already what we can and can't do with property or tax caps and this and that, and we got to pay for testing for cattle, for bovine, or what chronic waste disease. They don't seem to care about what Fayette County brings in, what we don't bring in, and tell us we have to pay for this position and pay them X amount of dollars, and we don't have a say in it. And we'd like to have a little say in something for a change. The new rule would be that 80% of, if the tax were adopted, 80% of whatever's brought in, so you said in the paper, we'll just use 700,000 as a round figure. 80% of that could only be used for the infrastructure, the buildings and maintenance of those buildings, and 20% could be used for staff and those kinds of needs. That's it. Well, how do they know what we need and what we don't need? And so we want the ability to be able to control that. The other thing is that of the 4 lit taxes that are currently out there, the city, they're under the city, and the city has ownership of them, and they can dictate how those taxes are used and how they're not used, and we have no say in the matter at all. And I've talked to the city, and I've asked them to come on board with us with talk about the public safety tax as an option, and they've refused, don't want to do it, don't want to talk about it, and so we have to do something to kind of protect ourselves. Now, if this was enacted or adopted tonight, the city could go back and change their lit tax to back it out to 0.2% out of their 4 taxes, so that it would kind of almost be a wash. They have that option to do that. It doesn't have to. They don't have to. Their rates do not have to stay what they're currently at. They could reduce their rates. They have that power. So that's all I'll say on that.
I'll use a couple of Judge Freed's numbers because he's appeared before us several
Okay.
times talking about pay discrepancies from other counties. Okay, a court reporter right now, a court reporter in Fayette County would start out at $18,062. Okay, a similar position in Franklin County pays $27,400. The same position in Rush County pays $30,300. So I could give more examples, but just there are 2. Because there was a person in our county that moved to Rush County, and just by taking that job there instead of here, she got a $12,000 raise because they paid that much better. I mean, I could give other examples: court bailiff, building inspectors, secretaries. I mean, across the board, every single. And this is open to, if anybody wanted to see it, I'd be happy to share it.
Mike, did you want to say something about the mandates instead? The state has said about the jail and the things that are out of compliance and
Well, we've got a number
staffing
of
rates.
that has. Okay. I see where you're going with this. So, what Kay is referring to is the report that we've got from the state jail inspector in reference to being non-compliant with the amount of jail staff. Well, that directly correlates to, if we don't have money to pay for these people, we can't hire them. I mean, we just can't do it. We cannot get compliant with the jail inspector's report with what we currently have. And some people say, well, you need to do a better job with your finances. Commissioner Strong has given reports where, one of his last reports, I think, was that we have a balanced budget. We've been running on a balanced budget for 2 years now. And each year that I've been on council, we went from a deficit to a smaller deficit to a smaller deficit until we finally balanced the budget, and we had a little bit of surplus, I think, last year. And I think we possibly are on track for that again this year. So it's not that we're mismanaging our funds, it's just that, as I've said in the past, there are certain buckets that we can pull from to fund certain entities, certain departments.
Salary.
Sorry?
Salaries specifically, like.
Salaries, yes. So when somebody says, well, the highway department got a raise, why didn't anybody else? Well, the highway department comes out of its own bucket. We can't take money from that bucket and distribute it among the county employees. If we could, we wouldn't be having a discussion tonight. You know, it is what it is. County employees are paid out of county general. And, you know, there's certain positions that are mandated that have to be funded a certain way, or we have to pay a certain wage to specific departments that have these positions, and we have no say in it. When the state approves a pay raise for them, we have to agree with it and pay it. And so I guess part of it is maybe we're tired of being pushed around a little bit. We'd like to have a little say to ourselves in the affairs of our government. And if a new jail is in the future, then this would be one way to help fund that. If it's renovating the current jail, this is a way to fund that. If it's to make some minor improvements to the jail, this is the way to fund that. This is not for, because it's not been agreed upon, it's not been discussed, there's been no plan, there's been nothing, no proposal signed. It is not to build a new jail. That's not to say that that couldn't be done in the future, but nothing has been agreed upon now. Am I correct? Commissioner Naylor?
Yes.
I'm correct in that. So, does anybody else have anything they want to add to that?
I would just say in everyday language, if this decision's made now, we have control over how we use it. If we wait beyond the end of this month, then they dictate how we can use it. So that's in the everyday language. Now we can use it how we like, next month we cannot.
Mike, I might add just a few things. When we started looking at this, I know everybody talks about taxes, and we may get around to talking about people on fixed income. Well, I'm in that group now, being retired for 5 years. And when I got I'm on the Wages and Salary Committee, and when we got the list of current salaries, quite frankly, I was appalled at what we paid. Because when Jane gave the one figure of $18,062 for one employee as a starting pay, my take home, my gross from Social Security is higher than that. And put my wife on there. And with what this tax is going to do to my Social Security based on last year's adjusted income, it's not on your gross, it's on your adjusted. Last year I had to pay $487 for our local income tax. Adding this 0.2% is going to increase that by $41 a year, or $3.42 a month.
And this is only on earned income.
Yeah, it's on earned adjusted income. So, and I realize that there are ladies and maybe guys that are single parents working in the county. I don't see how we do it. Because with me and my wife, we planned ahead. We've got a house that's paid for. So that was loaded of how they pay rent and do what they do with their kids. I don't understand. And I almost have to say, shame on Fayette County. Because this has been, a long time been a problem. Dale knows how bad a shape the county was in 6-7 years ago, almost to the point of being in receivership to take over our finances. And it's only through the county council, past one, and I guess the one before that, the last 8 years, has struggled to get this county budget balanced without cutting services. And in my estimation, we've got 8 to 10 years to make up for it. And this is not going to do it.
Right.
It's going to be able to assist us in utilizing for some major repairs that may be needed to any of the correctional facilities without affecting property taxes, free up some money, hopefully in our general fund, to work with salaries, not only for the jail. The jail is just one, it's really the whole law enforcement chain, from 911 to the jail, to the judge's office. Get the call, a bad guy, they arrest him, and everybody employed with them is significantly underpaid, and that's reason there's such a big turnover. You know, I'm on my 24th meeting as a county councilman, and it's in less than 6 months here. It's concerned me from day one, because I know what the turnover is. 911 was originally made to be self-sufficient, but unfortunately the self-sufficient money they get has not kept up with inflation, the cost of equipment. And I was on the 911 committee when it was installed, so I know how it was supposed to work, and it's just not working.
And turnover costs money.
Yeah, turnover costs money, exactly. And it costs money, but it also costs, makes for dangerous situations in the field.
Well, we've experienced that firsthand.
We've experienced that firsthand.
I mean, I've been called on runs to go to an address that's been 2 miles off. 2 miles. And it's lucky it was something minor. It wasn't something serious or life-threatening, or it was a structure fire. 2 miles is a big difference to be off. Or be dispatched, not even told what the incident is, just given an address. Do we send fire trucks? Do we send, medical staff? What do we send? And this is because of turnover. So,
And just to continue on a little bit, with being said what I just said, the $765,000 approximately that we'll get in from this 0.2%, I would also, to put in Dale Strong's words, be very, very careful, I think, because we can't spend up the $765,000 on salaries and then 10 years from now need a jail and not have the money because it's coming out of a tax that's going to end in the next 10 years. Because this is only a tax that will be allowed to run for 20 years. So
Well,
the idea is to free up and do the maintenance at some point if we need to hire an engineering firm or something just to redo one of the buildings so we can free up the women inmates and stuff. We'll have a fund come in where we can use without taking it out of general fund. The scrounge would cut somebody else off. So I do have thoughts back and forth about doing it now and doing it after June 30th. Because I know why the state did it, because it is going to force counties who have no discipline on the revenue coming in to put a good amount of money in a capital project account. It's not giving them any choice. But the trouble is, when you have the 20% left over, that leaves us about $150,000, $170,000 to deal with. And if you go through and gave every county employee right now $1,000, that's somewhere between $90,000 and $100,000, if I remember from last year's budget hearings. I think there was 90 employees, if I remember right then.
for what?
For, when we talked about,
For the jail?
no, for the county. I think Jane
Like
came up with a
full-time.
Full-time, yeah,
Could be
full-time.
close.
Yeah. So, it really doesn't go far, so I just hope we use restraint in the way we spend it. And I know I'll be watching it as well as Mike and all of us do in here. We just have to do this gradually, maybe take 2 years to build up a little funds in it so we feel safe about doing a lot, but we need to do something. Having turnover 911 and the judge's office and
Jail.
the jail, especially the jail, the deputies in there, I make more on Social Security than a jail officer does. And that shouldn't be. not for what they go through. I don't have to get urine sprayed in my face at home. I don't have to call people in to help handle prisoners. It's just a bad situation, so. That's my 2 cents on it.
John, I agree with you. When I first came on the council, when I opened up the book for financial hearings, it was a huge shock to see. I mean, I know it's available, I know you can look it up as the general public, but when you're sitting here on this side of the table and deciding how money gets distributed and looking at the salaries, it was intense. Just saying.
You said 2 budget areas too, which I did last year, I wasn't elected yet. And hear the passion, pleas from all the department heads on trying to get a better way of life for their employees. They have feelings for them, They're not all buddies, they don't go out and eat, but they want good people, and they want to hang on to them, and they want to give them, make them proud to be working for Fayette County.
And a fair wage.
And a fair wage.
And I also want to add that this budget that we deal with is already cut to the bone. There is no waste in our budget. I just want to make that clear to everyone watching.
The budget hearings are always open to the public, as anything is. Budget hearings are always open to the public. We have had a meeting in the past where we've invited the public to come ask us any question they wanted. The sheriff's department was here, the president of the commissioners was here to ask any questions that they wanted about the finances, to see if they wanted to see anything. There was nothing that we're trying to hide, nothing we're trying to keep secret. Full disclosure. But when the budgets come in and we sit down for our budget hearings, after we go through the department heads, the first thing that we do, what's the first thing we do, council?
Cut raises.
Cut raises out. First thing, gone. Everybody starts at ground zero. And then once we're done, and we've made all the cuts that we can make, and we feel comfortable where we gotta be, then we do what?
See where we can add raises.
See where we can add raises. And a $500 raise is not much of a raise. It's nothing. Sometimes it does more damage than it does good, because it may bump somebody into a different tax bracket, and they lose more money than what the raise actually gave them. Or we give them 1,000. I think the biggest we've given is 1,500. Dale, is that right? Or is that the biggest raise we've ever given since I've been on board?
I think that, yeah, that was, that happened over at the sheriff's department one year.
I mean,
8 years ago now. It's already been a long time.
it's not much for raises. It's not even a cost of living adjustment. So, I don't know, does anybody else want to add anything?
I did some calculations and I sent like an email out just to see, just working with their numbers, and it's just like you were looking at, like if you started $18,000, just say, and these are rough estimates, but kind of based on that with $18,000 at the 2.37%, it would be right now it's 2.57. The lit would be $462.60 a year, where it it's $426.60 now, roughly. If that 0.20% went into effect, it would increase it like $36 a year, or $1.38 per pay. So, I was kind of looking at the numbers to see how that would affect the paychecks roughly. And I know when you don't get much and you take everything out, like taxes and all, you don't get much take-home pay, but I was concerned how much of an effect it would have on the take-home pay at different levels in the county,
So again, on just layman's terms, for dollars a month, it makes us a significant chunk that we can work with here.
yeah. And I was concerned too, because, I had an email out, like this is it's jumping from 20 to a 22-year tax. So at the end of 22 years, that 0.20% would be over. I mean, we get 22 years to have this tax. It's not as though, I don't know, like wool tax, I don't understand all that yet. But it goes on and on and on. This is for 22 years. And Jane sent a note that the DLGF watches it, so, you know, when we're gone, who's gonna say, well, this is over, so it has a time limit too. And, they go on and on.
Somebody might change it to 22 years, maybe 50 years.
Yeah, we don't know.
I don't know.
And I was concerned too what it would go for. And that's what, I mean, just not to have money that would be spent at anyone's discretion for anything. It is contained to correctional or rehabilitation needs.
You want to move forward to?
Well, if everybody's had a chance.
And then Jane brought up too, like on here, I'm not gonna have to check mine, but it's just like on the lid that we collect now, the income tax. If you look on that tax statement that you get with, I mean, I don't know what they call that, Jane, the black and white paper that comes with your tax bill.
Yeah.
Future.
So like,
It's not nice, but it tells you all the credits that you get, you know, what the caps are, how much the county's losing or the city's losing to the caps. But it also shows on there where this income that's collected is applied to everyone's tax bill. So it lowers their taxes. So the money that's collected as an income tax is applied to your property tax. And it helps lower your taxes there too. So you're getting back some of what's collected out of your income tax.
And if you overpaid, you get it back. If you overpaid, you get it back. So. Mark, did you want anything to?
No. Guys talk about it all.
If anybody in the audience wants to address us, they can. I'll give you 5 minutes. Please come to the podium and then state your name.
Marlon Dobb.
Hmm.
Oh, okay. Sit now. Didn't sit before.
That's where we ask the important people to stand.
Well, I don't need to stand up then.
You.
5 minutes, huh? Okay, let me ask the questions. That's 5 minutes of my time, right? So let me ask my questions. First, this is just on the tax increase, is that right? Nothing else?
Right.
Nothing else that you could discuss so far?
Correct. If it's something that
Okay.
pertains to the county or some other business.
On the county tax, does anybody, even in the audience, know how the Fayette County rates as far as the 92 counties go?
We're one of the highest.
I didn't ask, do you know the number?
For
Nobody
taxes,
noticed?
Probably close to 2 or 3. I think Lake is probably higher than, the only one higher than we are.
At the present time, we're number 10.
10?
Last year was number 8. If this tax goes in effect, we'll be number 7. Now, we're also the poorest county in the state. We're also pretty high up on unemployment. Matter of fact, of all the negatives across the state, we're up in the top group for every darn thing going on. For some reason, I don't know why, but we're there. When was the county tax? Does anybody know when the county tax was first initiated?
What county tax?
What county tax are you talking about?
Huh?
What county tax are you talking about?
The 2.37%.
there's 4 different components to that, so they would have been.
I'm sorry?
There's 4 different parts to that, so they would have been enacted at different times.
Well, my point is, I'm paying county tax on money that I made prior to this ever being in effect. And Mr. Clark made a point there of his Social Security is, whoop, that's another job. That's not on the tax. Sorry about that. If this is enacted, I believe, well, let me back up and apologize. I don't hear very good. So what you guys were talking about, I probably may have heard 5% of it. But if this goes in effect, I think you made a strong point that it will not be to cover any kind of building that the commissioners decide if we need a new jail or what we're gonna do. Is that
No,
right?
if these funds could be used for that. Currently, we have very little funding for that.
Okay.
It could be used, but nothing has been decided.
Okay, but if we wait till after July the 1st, what was it, 2% of it has to go for buildings.
80% of it. 80%,
80% goes for buildings.
yeah.
Well, a solution on your officers leaving, you ever think about that, if they leave within a certain period of time, they have to reimburse for training?
That's already there, but that does not equate for a 13,000 difference in pay, 16,000 difference in pay, and 2,000 difference in pay. And that's for, Dan, is that for 4 years? 2 years, they have to pay back, and what's the dollar amount?
I believe it's, I thought it was $600, but it could be different.
So for $600, you think somebody's gonna stay in this county when they can get a $2,000 pay raise? They're gonna
It may be
easily.
more than that, I'm not sure.
Okay, it's a small number in comparison to the amount that they'll receive in a pay increase. So they'd be willing to take that.
I can also add a little bit to this, just because we had a conversation at one of our financial hearings, is do we really want to hold people hostage in positions, and what does that do for
Right.
the workforce and the morale? And so, yes, that is something that can be done.
It is in place.
It is, it is, but
But
if I understand correctly, it's not always enforced, because there are just some people you don't want to hold into a position.
I mean, the sheriff gets it. Those that are in hiring positions, they get it, that,
I realize everything's going up. Except, like Mr. Clark says, his income's not going up. Mine's not going up.
and neither of the
When you
jail.
when you live on a fixed income, these little 0.2% or 2% stuff, it means something to you. But when you're sitting where people's already got a job, a fairly good paying job, that they don't bother that. That's why you don't have very many people in your audience. It's the same way at the city. Because people don't care. Till it affects them.
I would agree with you that not enough people care.
But it's burdened on the people that are on the retired people.
It's also a burden on those that are employed here, because they're basically working on a fixed income.
Right.
They're not getting pay raises, and I mean this in the nicest way. Go on a ride along with one of the road deputies, or go spend a day with one of the jail officers, and somebody said urine thrown out. If that's the worst that gets thrown on them from bodily fluids, or
I understand that.
you're doing good. The fact that they're dealing with hepatitis, they're dealing with tuberculosis, they're doing AIDS, they don't know what's coming through those doors, needle sticks. These guys are coming up and searching them. Being on the first responder side, I have a great appreciation and respect for what they do. And having been on ride-alongs with them and see what they deal with, and not having support because radios don't work effectively in Columbia Township area because of the hills and the terrain. Having one road deputy on duty to cover the whole entire county because we can't afford to hire anymore, to have not enough jail staff. These are serious, serious issues that impact everybody, and we have to take them seriously. And we've said it, and we're not just saying it to say it. We don't enjoy the possibility of creating a new tax. We do not enjoy it. But as you said, we're the highest in a lot of things, and one of them is $18,000 for a starting position here, and really you're hoping and praying that you might get a $500 pay raise. I mean, I work for companies, the cost of living raise is more than that.
Well,
And I understand where you're coming from, but this isn't going to impact unemployed people or disabled people because they're not paying any taxes.
I realize that the tax system's not right.
Yeah. I mean,
There's a lot of solutions to that. The point, not to get too, sir.
Please say what you
But
feel.
let me ask you this. Did you ask for the job, or did they come and ask you to take the job?
Actually, it kind of was the other way. They came and asked me.
They did. Well, that's the only second time I've ever known of a company going and asking somebody to come to work for them. I've never, like I say, that's the second time I've ever heard of it.
Can I share something with you that he's too humble to share?
I'm sorry,
Can I share something with you that he's too humble to share?
what's that?
He left a much higher paying job.
He did.
Yes.
That's because you wanted the job, wasn't it?
It's because I wanted to be in town, be at home. Worked on the railroad for a decade.
See, that's the thing, everybody's talking about, you guys were talking and comparing this tax and how much it's gonna cost somebody that's gonna, say, make $40,000. I think one of you mentioned less than that. In the paper, it said the average person at $40,000 only paid, I forget what it was.
$80 a year.
How much?
80,
8?
80, I'm sorry, $80.
A year.
For a $40,000 person,
The
this tax
increase
would
would be
increase
$80.
$80,
Yeah.
yes.
I'm not talking about that.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
It compared at, well, I should have wrote that down, 40%, well, $40,000 be, they talked about the increase. It also somewhere, it said what, at $40,000, what a person would pay in a year's time. Okay? I paid almost $1,200 last year in county tax. I'm retired. My wife works part-time. Figure it out. I paid $1,200. And you use these low amount of income, and like you said, those people that make $40,000 a year, they don't pay any taxes. Believe it or not, they don't pay any. They don't pay federal, they don't pay nothing. And you people know that. It's just not, it's getting to the point where it's just, they constantly increase for everything. And like I said, my money coming in don't go up. My retirement money don't go up.
Well, like I said earlier, is it likely to happen? Probably not. The city could reduce their lit taxes by up to 0.2% to make it kind of a wash. Will it happen? I don't know.
We can hope not.
I mean, I would hope that they would consider it. We've asked for help. We can't get help. 911 is shared by the city and by us. Okay? But we're responsible for it. EMS is shared by us and by the city. Those rates keep going up. Dale, the one year we budgeted, was it $390,000 for them or $370,000 because we told that would cover it?
What, 911?
Yeah, no, EMS.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a 50-50 split, and then they came back and asked for an additional $190,000 that we hadn't budgeted, but we still had to pay for it. So, there's services that we share between us that we, try to do, and we've tried to help them understand the problems, and part of it is, to me, it can be if it's not in your own backyard, you don't see it. If you're not dealing with it on a day-to-day basis, you don't see it. We see some of these problems on a day-to-day basis, and we understand it, we take it seriously. And we don't have a way to fix it. Because you said we're one of we're one of the poorest counties in the state, if not the.
Yeah.
Well, if we're the poorest county, how do we get to fund anything? How do we get, and for those of you saying, I'm referring to he back there, that's Dan Becker, he's a road deputy. Okay, like I said, he's too humble to say that he took a pay cut, yeah, to be here in town, but he probably could have taken a pay cut, if being in town was his biggest thing, he could have found another job that probably paid equal for the same thing. So, he's not quite being 100% honest, I'm not calling him a liar. He's doing it because he loves the job.
Yeah.
He loves what he's doing. He loves serving the people of this community. And I have the utmost respect for him. Because there's not a lot of people that will do that.
Well, most people that have a job, just like all of you, you got elected, so you run for the job. So it's like everybody else that says, well, you know, it's statewide. State police are paid less than a lot of other states are. But they all ask for the job.
And I think you'd ask any one of us here, we're not here for the money.
No.
48 or 50, is it 51 now, 5,200 a year?
53.
5,300 a year is what we make. That's it, all of us. I'm the president. You know how much more I get paid than them for being the president? Just keep adding zeros on my paycheck. There's no extra, Gary gets paid no more zeros. I mean, it's the same thing. We're not here for the fame or the notoriety or the pay. I would like to believe that. I mean, I do believe it about this group here. We're here because we want to help make a difference. We want to make this county better for our children, our grandchildren, hopefully our great-grandchildren. We want our kids to stay around. I want my kids to stay around. I'm selfish. I love my kids. I want them to be around. I enjoy going down to the ball field and watching them play and being around my grandkids and stuff. And, you know,
Well, I'm sure my 5 minutes is up.
well, I appreciate it. And thank you for your comments and sharing them with us. I appreciate it.
I would also like to say that
Thank you for your time.
there's not a lot of people in this crowd here tonight. I appreciate that you took your time to come and share, because your voice does matter. I just feel like you should hear that from us. I mean, I'm glad you're here.
I want to say, Mr. Dobbs said though that the paper, he saw in the paper tonight, and I didn't even see my paper yet, so I didn't know if maybe too, if it could be, you know, if a little sooner that could be notified.
It was
It was
advertised on the
advertised.
14th of June, so
Yeah,
2 weeks
well,
ago.
like the article in the paper.
Well, that-
Yeah,
That we don't have.
That's Bob.
Yeah, I
That's
know.
Mr. Hanson's fault back there.
He's here, I know he's here.
And it wasn't, very unusual for that to happen.
Uh-huh.
Can I make a point, and are you on Social Security?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'm looking on the Social Security's website, and Social Security has given cost of living increases every year since 2011. County employees have gotten one raise since 2011. So, and I know you said that you can't get any more money because you're fixed, but that's not exactly true. You have gotten cost of living raises on your Social Security, and I've got those numbers here. All we're saying for county employees, we're not even getting cost of living, we're getting nothing. I mean, there are employees that have worked 10 years and have gotten $2,000 over a 10-year period.
But them same county employees are making more money than I am on Social Security.
No.
You
No,
think? I've got somebody's paycheck right here.
No.
This is an employee that's been here
What's the lowest
12
person in the
years.
county make?
This is a 12-year person. This is not even the lowest person. This is not comparable to the lowest person.
What is
The starting pay is $17,247. The person that does the county's payroll and handles all the HR benefits makes $17,247 a year.
How much?
$17,247
$15,000.
is what that person makes.
That's gross.
Gross pay.
But then again, Social Security is based on what you made in is it the highest 20 or 30 years of your life?
But your cost of living increases are based on the fact that the government recognizes every single year prices go up. So
Yeah.
they give you a cost of living increase to offset the increased cost of living. And I'm
Well-
saying county employees have not gotten that because the county has been unable to give those raises.
When your increase on Social Security goes up, say $26 a month, and everything else goes up, that $26 don't hardly cover any of that stuff.
Well,
Right,
these
but
guys,
at
these
least
guys
it-
aren't even getting that.
Sorry?
The-
These guys aren't even getting that. They're not getting that. They're not even getting that.
Yeah, $300 a year raise.
They got a $500 a year raise over, over a 12-month period. What is that? I went to school in Wisconsin, so I can't do it quick. Shouldn't need a calculator, but
The county's not getting any raises, so.
it's minimal to what
Minimal.
they're getting. And people say, well, they have the freedom to go somewhere else. They do. They do have freedom, but a lot of people enjoy working here. You know, they like the environment. They like who they work with. They like the people they work with, and they like the people they serve. And I applaud them for working there for what they work for. And I think some are holding out the fact that the county council will take care of them one day. And it's not that we've not wanted to since I've been serving. It's just that we've tried to be fiscally responsible with what we have. We just don't say, well, yeah, let's give them all a pay raise and we'll run negative here for another year or two. We've tried hard, since Dale and I have been on the council together, and those that served along with us. That's our biggest priority, is trying to get down to a balanced budget, make sure we got a balanced budget, then talk raise. Not until then. So,
Well, on yours, the lowest paid county person makes about $8 and something an hour, is that right?
That's
Yeah.
about what it would come out.
yeah.
Now, when you're talking about that, what all are you including in county employee? You count anybody that works for the county?
I'm sorry.
No, they're mostly,
It's certain positions.
I mean, I'm saying that particular person.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to separate is the
Yeah.
position. You're not including the people sitting on this council.
But we get paid less
No,
than
because,
that.
yeah, they only
Yeah,
they only
I
make.
realize that.
$5,300, yeah. No, I just gave a specific example of a person in my particular department.
Okay, if the lowest one makes 17, what's the highest paid person in the county pay? Make? It's not an elected official.
Yeah.
It's
It-
approximately
No,
30,000. I mean, I couldn't give you the exact number.
That is
but-
not an elected
But
official,
someone
or-
that is not an elected official, that is not, we have one person that has been at the county, I want to say almost 40 years. And because of the longevity, that person, it's 30 something, right at the $30,000 mark.
That was 40 years.
I didn't realize they were
40
paid
years.
that much.
well, I remember, just to put it in perspective, and Joey might actually be able to help us, being like just shook that we had a person retiring as a cook from the jail that had worked there for all these years and made like,
How many years, Joey, was it?
I'm sorry.
A cook.
Judy, 25, 30 years.
and she retired at making 20 something, like
25.
Okay, and I'm sorry, when I said that, I was thinking county employees, the sheriff's deputies would make more than that. And then there are some positions that are
However.
state mandated that would make more than that. So like the probation officers, the state tells us what we have to pay probation officers. So they're not elected officials, but they make more than that, but it's based on education and years of service. So I'm saying the average person that's in one of these courthouse offices, the highest paid person, is a little, slightly over 30,000.
I know Sandy, when she worked in our office, she worked there 31 years. She left at $28,000 and went to the city for 35. So she, in the same way we had gone to school, left here and starting pay and
Yeah.
Well, I thank you for your time.
Mr. Dodd, just one last thing before you leave. You started off by telling us how, we were the poorest county in the state, which I agree with, and our taxes are higher, which I agree with, from being out in agricultural, because property taxes on farmland, even in Henry County, are $3 a hundred less or something what they're on Fayette County. But if we got the highest tax and we're the poorest county, that's the underlying problem right there, is we don't have enough revenue to go anyplace else.
Right.
All the empty buildings we've got sitting here in town, that we used to get taxes off of, property taxes for the machinery that filled them, and for the employees that work there, that aren't there anymore until economic development comes about or some, miracle happens where we can find better sources of revenue coming into the county. It's going to be a hard road to change that, because we've got services we have to maintain for the county, and we've only got so much money to do it with, and that's where the pinch is right now, is trying to keep good employees here to where maybe more people will want to come in and work for our public servants here as the county or their sheriff's deputy, so that when businesses come in, they see that we're trying to improve our county, and hopefully they'll want to locate here and help us on. Appreciate your time very much, though, sir.
I don't want to get started on
I don't.
getting new business in
Different
town.
subject.
And that's not our
That's
area.
not my pet peeve.
I need to correct myself. In 2015, there wasn't a cost of living. I said every year since 2011, and
Yeah, that's the first
I
year was
misspoke.
off, so
Yeah, sorry.
I can't count, so.
I would have said that straight, though. I did not mean to. It was an honest mistake.
Okay.
Thank
Again,
you.
thank you for your time.
Howard, did you want to say something?
No, I'm just listening.
Do you want to talk about mowing your lawn or something, or the fence is going to go up in our backyard, or
No, the only thing I have to say is to talk about pay raises and such.
would you mind coming up?
Okay.
I forced you up there anyways.
Might as well work that. You talk about that, I know it's an
This is
entirely
Howard Price.
different area, but I'm Howard Price. Most everybody knows who I am. We've given a raise to the county highway department for 3 years running. And to me, that's kind of an acceptable idea without knowing what the budget's going to be for those 3 years. And we're here, I understand these employees. I worked for the highway department for 17 and a half years and was let go, but at that time I only made $36,000. So I know where you're coming from on the employees here. I stayed at the job because I like that job. And I understand the people here do the very same thing. I just want the people in the community get the services that you're asking for them to pay for, and that there's transparency on the money that is spent, that we know that it's going to take care of the people and the facilities in the county. I know some of the facilities are in poor shape, and I'd like to say I don't want the taxes, but as long as they're being utilized appropriately and in a manner that benefits the folks of the county, I do appreciate your efforts on that behalf.
Thank you. And the one thing I can say since I've been on council again, tired phrase, is that I've always appreciated that thought process with all the council members, that their number one concern was just what Mr. Price said, is that the tax dollars be used in the appropriate manner for the appropriate things and not misused. You know, Mr. Price talked about the raise for the highway department, and I've been on both sides of the fence in my thought process on that, because there is such a disparity between what they get paid in road deputies and employees in the county courthouse, and they're funded differently, so that can be done for them. And we do know the budget. We know what that budget is. That's why we do that. We've never ever approved of anything that we weren't sure, 100% sure of what that budget would be or how it would impact that budget. Something I can say, matter of factly. I was on a phone call just before I walked in here with a county resident. I appreciate his call, and he emailed me. And I'll make the same invitation to anybody that I made to him. If anybody wants to sit down and talk, where this money goes, I'm more than happy to do that with anybody in the public. Hopefully not all at one time and every night of the week, but I'd be more than happy to sit down, as any of us would, to explain where the tax money goes. Sometimes it's really easy sitting at home, reading the paper, watching TV, and we think we know the old armchair quarterback phrase of how the money is being mismanaged and misspent. But until you actually sit here and go through a budget hearing and look at the numbers and understand fully where these, how little we have to work with. I mean, in the discussions we have of, cutting postage $100 here, or office supplies $20 here, or reducing the amount of toilet paper we buy. It sounds funny, but that's literally discussions we have here of where can we cut, and save. Was it a surveyor that came in and asked for additional money this past month in June, and he wanted 38 or 40 something thousand, and we said, hey, no, we can't do it. We'll give you this to cover, which was an extra couple $100. We'll give you this to cover it, and if you need more for another project that you anticipate coming up, then just come back and ask us, because we're trying to be that frugal. And with the taxpayers' dollars, we take it very seriously. I don't think anybody here takes it lightly.
Can I say one more thing too?
Sure.
And actually, you were a part of this, but a few years ago, not that long ago, we did a lot of community, just assessment with community members, and asked them the number one thing they were concerned about in Fayette County, and it was safety. And so a lot of times as an elected official, I feel like I represent people and what they value as important. And this is a direct connection to that desiring to feel safe and needing to, safety being a priority for Fayette County. I feel like this, as much as I had shared with Kayla on our way in the 3 years I've been here, is probably one of the biggest decisions that we've made. But it really does reflect the view of those community voices meetings when safety was the number one thing that we had and we wanted to keep. And it's not that antiquated. I mean, it's just in the last 3 years that those numbers reflected. Over and over and over, every one of those community vision sessions was, they felt like they were safe in Fayette County. They didn't want to lose that. It was the thing we had that we didn't want to lose.
And one thing I want to add to, I think there was a misunderstanding about the article in today's paper versus when the paper was notified. Mr. Hanson is very good, on top of his game all the time. And this is just something, I think it just slipped through the cracks inadvertently, because it was advertised 10 days, it had to be advertised 10 days prior, correct?
15,
Jane?
10 days prior.
10 days prior, so it's been publicized in the paper, and I'm not throwing Bob under the bus. Bob does a great job. He truly does. It was merely an oversight and a coincidence that it ran today, and I was even curious myself, like, I wonder why I haven't heard from Bob yet, because usually he calls you on something like this. And I'm like, well, do we say something? Do you mean, does he, I don't know, I mean, so it was an oversight, and it wasn't anything intentional or malicious, it was accidental. And correct me if I'm wrong, Bob.
Right.
Put him on the spot. So, we appreciate what the paper does and what Bob does, and we appreciate the public that is here. I'm sure that we may have heard from more if he hadn't been delayed. I don't want to throw Bob under the bus. He's such a nice guy.
Can I speak?
Yes.
Joe, you want to come up?
Yeah. Sorry, I apologize for my attire, obviously, I just came from a baseball game, so, and I would have been here earlier, but I'm the coach, so I had to be there. Just to echo what I know has already been said, I've been texting while I was at first base this whole time, people in the room. We don't want to see a new tax either, but the situation that we're in, just to give you the standpoint, and I know Mike's talked about some of that, from the Sheriff's Department, we just lost 2 to Reed. I think we're going to lose up to 5 to Reed. That's $15,000 pay difference. 2 of those guys, one for sure is gone as a corporal. Somebody that I would have no problems putting in as the jail commander, and can't begrudge him. I'm not going to have people walk in my office and say, he was in tears. And he may not want me to say that. He was shaking in tears. I don't want to leave, man. I just don't want to. I'm letting you down. I said, you got to do right by your family. It's not. I understand. I was encouraging him, and maybe I should be saying, no, stay loyal to us, stay loyal to the department. But I don't have to feed his kids. I don't have to pay his bills, and it boils down to the argument of you knew what the job pays when you took it. I understand that to a certain extent, but you're going to get what you pay for. And we're getting 1 and 2 applicants turn applications in, people coming in going, well, I got arrested for possession of meth last year, but I'm good now. Can I work in the jail? Anybody in here knows, Holly and Kay know, I'm a big advocate for people turning their lives around, and we put this tournament on. I'm the president of the Drug Coalition. I'm all about change. But there's nobody that would put somebody in as a jail officer 1 year free or clean of addiction. And that just happened. And that guy right there, I had 2 of those. I had his brother, and I was quite happy to have 2 of those because they're big, they're smart, and they work hard.
Those being the Beckers.
The Beckers.
The Beckers.
And his brother was with us, and we couldn't keep him. And he's at the city, and Brad Rosser's at the city, and Clint Brown's at the city, and Kyle Miller's at the city, and Ryan Sherwood's at the city. And I would wager to guess, not that there's any problems over there, but if we had comparable pay, they would have never left in the first place. And they are good officers, and they're an asset to that department. If the chief come up here, she'd tell you how good they were. And we're lucky. It's been said, Wason's been there longer than anybody. Our road division may be as strong as it's ever been. And we do have, I think Dan was asking me exactly what that contract is. It's $6,000 after 1 year, $4,000 after 2, 2 after 3, and after that, you're gone. But you can go to the city and get a $15,000 pay raise. Who cares to say, well, here's your $6,000 back, I'm going over here. And I don't know if Mike went through all the surrounding county wages. Average salary for all the surrounding counties is $42,000. Our starting pay is $30. Our jail officers is $25, surroundings $32. You're gonna get what you pay for. And the people that we have, I think the world of, they do a great job, but they're manning a jail that these 3 other jails around here aren't even the size. The amount of inmates wouldn't fill our jail up. So it's not anything anybody wants to do. I'm just giving you our standpoint where we are. I am scared to death in these next 3 years, in the next 6 months, that we're just not gonna have jail. I have no idea how we're gonna fill it to 3 jail officers. We're either gonna have to start bending the rules or changing our county handbook and saying, all right, well, we're gonna be a little looser on these arrests that you had. We're gonna hire an 18-year-old kid in the jail instead of a 21-year-old. We're gonna have to not necessarily bend the rules, I misspoke, but think outside the box. That's the most litigious thing that you guys have to worry about, you and the commissioners. I just got another one yesterday. They are going to sue all the time, and you need people that's on top of their game, that are highly well-trained. We train them and they leave. We train them and they leave. They don't leave because they're mad at me. Other people's going to tell you that. Is there going to be a few? Sure. Anybody that's hearing the boss, anybody ever quit because they didn't like you? It's going to happen. But the majority of the people, if we did an exit poll and everybody left in this last 4 years, I would wager to guess 80 to 90% of them, we should have been doing that, would tell you they left because they couldn't pay their bills. And we changed the schedule, 4 on, 4 off, so they can go work part-time jobs. So come down here for 4 days, get spit on, cussed out, your family threatened, bodily fluids thrown on you, and then go get a part-time job so you can pay your bills. Okay? And I can tell you how things work. I didn't bring him I put him on the spot. He's already shy as can be anyway. I put him on the spot. But every time I leave that house, I had a suicidal subject that got called out that I went to leave the house on, and he had overheard what was going on and bawled his eyes out that I was leaving the house. I'm the sheriff. That's what the sheriff does. He's got a 2-year-old at home. Not playing in anybody's sympathies, but not a lot of people go to work and strap an AR on their chest and a bulletproof vest. We had a murder in this county last summer. And I'm telling you right now, anybody that was around it, the city guys would tell you, the county guys that would tell you, I want to tell you what kind of police officers you have here. In 4 days, 5 people in jail, 2 confessions, murder weapon. They're already taking their pleas to the prosecutor. And that was done with county officers making $30,000 a year. It can't continue. It just can't. It's on you guys to figure the money out. I wouldn't change places with you guys. But I can tell you, as a steward of the county's money, you guys see, you can go watch all these council meetings, go back 4 years. We're not coming over asking for additionals. We're not coming over and saying, hey, we had too much overtime, I'll just cut them loose. We don't do that. We find a way. The last pay raises we got, we went from 22 to 25 in the jail. And we were tickled pink. And we gave up a ton of stuff. You guys that were here know what we gave up. We gave up a ton of stuff. We don't have nothing. All the fat's gone. All the fat's gone off the budget. There's nothing else to give up. And we still can't keep people. And I don't know what's going to change. This is, to me, as I have a mother that's on a fixed income that is running out of money every month and is barely getting by every month. Yeah, I worry about those people immensely. But also worry about who is going to show up if my mother's in trouble. I want that guy showing up. If something happened to one of my kids, that they disappeared, I want one of these guys showing up at my door. I don't want somebody that's going to come here for a year and leave because they can't. He's just staying out of loyalty. That's it. He's my friend. He graduated with me. He took an immense pay cut to come here. He's just here so he's the poster boy tonight. But this isn't a joke or exaggeration. Every time he calls me, I go, here it is, because that's what his brother did. What's Joe Becker call me? Hey, man, I'm sorry. I got to leave, dude. I got a better offer. Every time he calls me, I'm like, here it is. So That's just where we're coming from. I'm not trying to be overly dramatic. It's just the reality of what's going on over there. And it's not just us. I know. I've never been one to say our job's harder than anybody else's in the county. I know how tough the other jobs are. I know I have friends in every office here. I have friends at County Highway. All these jobs are tough and they deserve to be, and we're so underpaid that how the people, I feel stupid when people, I'm in a different position as a sheriff. I won't be, I'll be coming out, but I feel stupid when people go, man, how do you stay down there working for that? Like you're just too stupid to go get another job. Any sheriff's department in the state of Indiana would snatch that dude up like that. He's too old to go to the city. Can't get in perf. But any other department would snatch him up in a second. And there's several of those guys that are that way. And this is a way to rectify a lot of that. So the ball's in your court. I just want to give you guys kind of the status of the department. If you have questions, I'm happy to answer, but I appreciate your time and appreciate everybody's consideration in doing this.
Thank you.
Thanks, Joey.
Any other comments from the council?
Steve?
Oh, yeah.
I'm Chad Frank. I'm with 920 West 3rd Street. I'm also on City Council. Bob, you proved tonight you are human. We all make mistakes. I didn't know about it until I read the paper tonight, but that's because I used to get my paper at 6 o'clock in the morning. Now I get it at 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
Amen.
But anyway, I'll give you a different perspective here. Just something to think about. I will address some of your questions and statements that were made earlier as well. One, I can tend to be kind of direct. Don't take it as I'm mad at anyone, because I'm not. I just tend to be very direct. I don't sugarcoat stuff. I just kind of say it how it is. If you look at all the surrounding counties, and everyone's saying it's $80 a year. Well, if you take the average median income of $40,000, I know it's higher than that, but I'm just using that because it's easy math. That's $1,028 a year that they're going to fork out for that tax, where all your other counties are paying $600. Now you say, what's the difference? I'm in real estate. I'm also a council member. I want to get people to move to Connersville. I've had a lot of people I've tried to get to come to Connersville who will not move here because their county tax is so high. That's just word for word what they tell me. So what my fear is that you impose, and I get everyone's underpaid. City guys, county guys, elected officials, I get it. We're not doing it for the money because it's definitely not there. But my fear is by increasing your tax, you're going to create the opposite effect on growing our community. We want to create a community that is to grow, and they want to be safe. We mentioned that in there. But safety doesn't always mean adding more police protection. Safety means quality of life as well. We're trying to create that. And if we can't get people to move here, we're not going to create that. And the people who are working their tail off to save Connersville and to keep it growing will either move on or get tired and leave. The ones who are here are just an example. I imagine you're getting a butt beaten tomorrow, man. He's embarrassed. But thank you for your service. But he's not the only one. I've talked to a lot of people who, butt beaten, don't put that in the paper, who left a good job to stay here. I'm one of them. This is my home. And I want to grow Connersville. I want to see Connersville thrive. And my concern is by implementing a higher tax, we're already way higher than our donut counties. They can still work here, but they're going to live somewhere else. They're not going to pay those taxes. If you take someone making $80,000 a year, husband and wife working together, $40,000 each, you know, that's over $2,000 a year they're going to be paying in this tax. Now, trust me, I get the financial situation. At the city, we are exactly the same. We're running bare bones. But looking at all sides of the issue, and I'm one of them who says don't kick the can down the road. But at the same time, we got to look at all perspectives. And by implementing this, we could be kicking that can down harder, because now we've really hindered the growth of Connersville. And we've hindered the potential for people to move here. I don't know how many people this year I've tried to get to move here, They're like, I'm not paying that county tax. I was talking to our secretary in the office, and she met a lawyer coming up, and she said, oh yeah, your guys with Thomas the Tank and the high county tax. I was like, wow, that's what we're known for. I get the problem, but I think by imposing tax, it could be more detrimental than it's helpful. Because what happens when the faithful move out? What are we going to do? Keep raising taxes on the faithful? To keep paying for everything? And I get it. Trust me. Everyone's underpaid. And it drives me crazy seeing underpaid. Second thing I'll address is, you mentioned the city don't want to talk about it. I'm council president. I've never had one discussion with you about it. Now,
You have.
I'm not trying to be direct and rude.
Yeah, if you've been in these meetings over here,
Yeah, we had joint meetings.
So does it say?
you were right there.
And I'm,
Yep.
Over there.
In 2016, there was at least 3 different
we did
meetings
talk
with
about
public
that. I
safety tax.
apologize. But we've never had any further discussions on it. And I'd love to listen to ideas.
Because, can I interject here? You're talking about us,
The joint meetings
Yeah.
that we
Yes.
started, when we first started?
yes. We had them annually, this is something I started a while back, annually. Then we had annual and semi-annual meetings. And we stopped having them because we weren't making any headway with the city. The city wasn't listening to us. We were trying to tell the city there's a 911 problem. They weren't listening to us. We tried to tell them there's a problem with the jail and stuff. That nobody was listening to us. The city pays nothing. They have no jail officers to pay.
Well,
They have no jail to maintain. You're talking about, we're talking about a 0.20%. We've asked for the public safety tax to be considered and looked at. We were pushed back with the fact of, no, we're not gonna do that unless you do this. We never look to the city and say, you need to do this. We never stick our nose in the city's business and tell them how to conduct their affairs. Yet we had city council members come back to us, it wasn't you. We
no, it
had
was
city
not
council
me.
members come back and tell us that you need to do this before I even consider doing this. And so, and I've had discussions as recently as this year with the mayor, with Gabe, or maybe it was last year, with Gabe and Rosemary, about some ideas to help co-fund and work together. Told we weren't gonna do it.
I was not privy to that, so. I
And
don't
so
know that.
you're at 2.37, part of the tax problem.
That's right.
And as I said earlier, we all know that you're running for mayor.
And that's not why I'm standing up here.
I understand, but bump the taxes down
I'm not willing
0.20.
to sit down and talk about that, but I've never had any discussions like that with you.
What's that? No, I'm saying this is something that could be done. We're
I'm
talking
willing to
about,
sit down and do whatever, but we also protect our people as well who are also not having raises like everyone else. So I get that.
Can I throw something in to
Yeah,
to
go
that
ahead.
comment? I'm on Indiana Gateway, so I can look at how much your people made last year compared to how much the
Oh, they
people
make
made.
more, I know that.
And yeah, 33% of county employees make more than $40,000.
I know that.
6.5% of the counties make more than $40,000.
Oh, yeah, I know our
So-
wages are higher.
I was just
I
saying,
still think our
well, you
wages-
said it's comparable, and it's really
No,
not.
no, I said compared to surrounding counties. I still think our wages are low, what we pay in the city, even though it's significantly more than you guys. I think the wages are still low, but that's a whole other issue. Let me ask you a question then. If all of our donut counties are paying significantly more, how are they getting by with significantly less income tax? County tax.
They have way more revenue. We don't have any revenue.
Right, so there's the problem we gotta fix.
right, well, you,
But
So we
my
can't
point
fix it.
is, if we add the county
our
tax, we're
taxes
gonna
is
hurt
not the
that.
only problem.
We're gonna hurt that revenue. That's the part I want you to look at. Because it's gonna be harder to get people to move here, which in turn drives our revenue.
So like I said, the city needs to sit down and look at it and see if they
I
can
want to
adjust
do
it.
that, but we've never done that.
I don't know what to do. I mean, I went to the council president, I went to the mayor, and Gary and I have tried talking to him. We can't get anywhere.
Other than I have
And
no idea.
I've said that you're forcing us to make a decision we don't want to make, which means if this gets implemented, you as a city cannot implement a tax for a
I
year.
know that, But what I'm trying to get you to do is look at what could be the potential down the road effect of implementing that. Cause more harm than good.
We think
I know.
about all that. We
Trust me, I
understand.
get it. We had the same discussions on council. We are in the same boat. And you made an interesting statement. I didn't know this. We have more inmates in our donut counties, or is that arrest, or what is that? Is that
They're-
just,
Yeah,
It's a
right.
direct correlation to the substance use disorder that we have in our
okay.
community.
That's what I was gonna ask, but I'm sure I'd ask that. I guess that's all I have. And the people do care. It don't always show up, but we have a high population who watch it. And I care when I'm sorry, but the people care when they tell me, I'm not moving there because of your high tax rates. That's disturbing to me.
I mean, there's a lot of reasons. There's that,
There's a lot of
there's a
reasons.
lot of factors.
I've heard that 4 times this year, trying to get people to move
And,
here.
and as I said earlier, I go through the taxes with my wife and I show her, I bounce the different counties around and say, if we lived here, look what we'd bring home.
I know,
Look at this. And,
but
but the
you're
bottom
like,
line is, I love it here.
you're like the rest of us. You love it here and you're not going to leave it.
And I wasn't born and raised here.
I'm
No, I
not
applaud
born
you.
and raised here either. I also would counter that the cost of living in Fayette County is so much lower than elsewhere.
Oh, yeah.
That
Yeah,
the ability
Oh, yeah.
to buy a home
There's no
here
question.
compared to elsewhere is so different.
And our
The
values
cost
are low.
benefit-
I mean, we get all that. The
And I-
values are way
You've been in
low.
real estate. I used to build custom homes. And, you know, I told my wife, we started looking at homes where we live now. I said, that house is too tiny and whatever. And the same comparable house that I built in Wisconsin would be 3 times what
Oh,
it is
yeah.
here.
Oh, yeah.
And I might not have the acreage, and, I mean, I know you live in a very nice area and a nice home, and you probably couldn't touch that for what you did in your surrounding county.
It's because I did it on myself. I couldn't
But you
afford to pay
still-
anybody.
But you still know that, I mean, you couldn't have gone to Hendricks County or
No.
Marion County and found the same kind of house for that price and comparable.
No, and that, our property values are low, and
Yeah.
I actually like to see them higher, but
My wife squawks about her taxes. I said, I lived in Milwaukee, don't complain. For a postage stamp lamp, a lot, I was paying $1,400 a year. I'm paying less than that here for an acre.
yeah, incomes also are different too.
Yeah,
You gotta look at income
but our
levels.
neighborhood was worse.
But anyway, what I want to get you to see was the other side of the picture. Because there's always 2 sides to everything. And trust me, I get your financial situation, and we deal with it every day with the city as well. But I just want to, it could have the opposite effect of what we really want. And it could be another predicament 3 or 4 years down the road because of implementing this. Now, I would rather see growth. Obviously, we know the answer to that, and we're not seeing that. So, thanks.
Thank you, Chad.
Thank you, Chad.
Thanks.
Okay, is there any more discussion from the council? If not, I would accept a motion to either approve or disapprove this ordinance.
I'll make the motion to approve it.
We have a motion on the floor to approve ordinance 2019-01.
I'll second that.
There's a second. Is there any further discussion? If not, I would move that we make a roll call vote.
Nobby? Yes. Clark?
Yes.
Rhodes?
Yes.
Dunn?
Yes.
Riker Keaton?
Yes.
Brockman?
Yes.
Winter?
Yes, I get it. Motion passes. Ordinance 2019-01 is enacted. We'll send it down for signatures. And the audience, we do hear what you're saying, and I appreciate what you're saying, Chad, and I get it. It is frustrating with the tax rates, but hopefully something in the future will open up for all of us, and we can address this again and lower them, you know? I mean, this isn't comfortable.
Taxes, that never happens.
I know.
Hey, Jan, just for the audience, when would this take effect on?
October 1st?
October 1st?
Assuming, it has to go to the DLGF and the Indiana Department of Revenue first.
Okay.
And after both of those bodies would approve it, if they approve it, it would go into effect October 1st.
Okay.
Please make sure you sign in the right column. You said aye, sign the guy, not the name.
Do we need a motion to adjourn?
I'll wait for the signatures to be done. Mr. Flum started that tradition, and we'll honor it. So Mark, if you're watching, we're honoring your tradition you started.
We'll get started.
It's not budget time yet, is it?
That wasn't advertised.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
The motion adjourned, second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.